The C-SPAN networks bring you long-form public affairs programming from the nation's capital and are a public service of your television provider. C-SPAN, created by cable.
The Supreme Court is scheduled to begin its new term on Monday. Earlier this year, Penn, Schoen, and Berlin conducted a poll for C-SPAN on the Supreme Court and the impact of its decisions. You can see here from the poll, some of the decisions are more familiar than others to Americans. Roe v. Wade at the top, 67% of Americans familiar with that, 46% of Americans familiar with Board v. Board of Education, and it goes on from there. Here to talk more about the Supreme Court decisions and C-SPAN's upcoming series, Landmark Cases, is executive producer Mark Farkas. So Mark, tell us a little bit more about this series. Why is C-SPAN doing it?
All of our history series really need to lend currency to our current programming, and when you take a look at the role that the court has been playing, not just in the last 10 years, but really since it began, I think this poll really shows that the Supreme Court is relevant. It's encouraging for us. The series that we're doing, Landmark Cases, Historic Supreme Court Decisions, takes a look at 12 decisions over time that really have currency today, and 8 of those decisions are listed in that poll. So I think it shows, one, that the court does play a really important role in society. And the genesis of this was Ruth Bader Ginsburg was talking to the National Constitution Center dinner. The Constitution Center are our partners in this, and she was talking to them about the case of Loving versus Virginia, which is not on our list. But the point of it was, she said, you know, there are 2 people involved in this case, and so really what the court ought to be taking a look at and what Americans ought to be taking a look at is not only the decisions, but people are involved in all these cases. And so we wanted to take a look at not only historic Supreme Court decisions, but really the people involved in it, the personal stories, the people that cared enough to take their case all the way to the Supreme Court.
A little bit. I mean, when will the series air, first of all, and more background about how these cases were chosen?
The series is a 12-part series, begins Monday, October 5th, this coming Monday, as the court comes in on the first Monday in October for its new session. And each Monday night from 9 till 10:30 on C-SPAN and C-SPAN 3, we will do 90-minute programs that takes a look at all these 12 cases.
And the background on how these cases were chosen, how did you go about making those decisions? Because there's a lot more than that will be shown during this series.
Greta, it was an interesting exercise. You know, the Supreme Court has been meeting since 1790. We're trying to figure out just how many cases they've decided over the course of that time. It's probably over 20,000. We had to narrow it down to 12. You could do a parlor game over it because, you know, we came up with 12 along with our partners at the Constitution Center. We talked to constitutional scholars, legal scholars on both the left and the right to come up with this list. And so it was tough because there's, you know, there are a lot of great decisions, important decisions that are not on this list, but this is a good mix of different amendments to the Constitution, personal stories. Sometimes these cases are cases where the court got it right and set precedent that's followed all the way through till today. And some of these cases, Dred Scott, the Korematsu case, are cases where history has judged that the court maybe got it wrong.
All right, so as we said, the Supreme Court kicks off its new term on Monday. Tell us which case you'll be featuring Monday night when this series begins and why.
Monday night, we feature Marbury versus Madison, which is really the foundation that Chief Justice Roberts, Justice Ginsburg, and a lot of the justices quote today. It's cited, it's one of the most often cited cases in the history of the court. And what Marbury versus Madison does is it establishes the court as the ultimate arbiter of the Constitution, judicial review, which is still being debated today whether the court is stepping in too much or, you know, there's a debate going on. Again, I think that shows that there's relevance on whether the court should be deciding issues like gay marriage, other issues like that. And so Marbury versus Madison establishes that, but it's also a great case that shows the personal stories behind these cases. There is a battle going on in this between John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, and John Marshall behind the scenes. That really is the story of this case. So it has legal import, but these shows are also really personal stories that are engaging and I think are illuminating on the time period.
All right, 9 p.m. Monday night. Tune in. C-SPAN's Landmark Cases. And of course, you can go to C-SPAN's website for this new series. It's landmarkcases.cspan.org. Mark Farkas, Landmark Cases executive producer. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Greta.